Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play West of Loathing. In the previous episode, we started our journey west, only to end up falling off our ride and ending up stuck in the town of Boring Springs, which may be a bit of a blessing in disguise, as you'll see later. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, but bump into every cactus you can. Oh, and one other thing. Now that we have our shovel, we can shovel this stuff and gain XP, which upgraded our glamour. Now, looking back, I actually realized that I kept telling you guys about how to get this one piece of meat which you need for the Fistful of Cutlets reward, but I kept mentioning a third stick of dynamite, but not where to get it. What you need to do is head to Thousand Snakes Gulch. There are 3 snakes. Kill the first 2, surrender to the third, and you will get the third and final stick of dynamite. But we're not going to go there yet, because, as we recall, Braid mentioned giving a fine silver pocket watch to someone who brings him 3 snake hides. Now, we can't just get snake hides as it is normally. And this is why we wanted to bump into cactuses. Mostly scabs. You've been poked by so many cactuses that your body has built up an entire extra set of skin capillaries just to deal with the constant tiny puncture wounds. Plus 5 maximum HP. Good thing to get early on. But anyways, we need to get a specific item in order to get those hides. Then, while we're here, let's dig up some loose dirt and get this mug. But in order to get that, first we need to head to the Boring Springs Boneyard, where we'll find another mug and Beauregard Skeleton, Captain, 3rd Cavalry, 1866. Dig up the grave. It's going to be a somewhat tough fight, but I feel it'd be worth it. First things first, let's deploy Snake. That'll give him something else to hit besides us, at least for a turn or 2, and then start shooting him. Now, Snake seemed pretty weak, and it is, but we can make it stronger. Not yet, but we can. Now, we got a gold tooth. If we get enough of those, then we can get a rather good item much later on. Has the same stuff, but I feel like it would be better to have the old cavalry saber, because, well, it looks cooler. Skeleton, you're not getting past it without a scuffle. A scuffle it is. This guy's gonna be much easier. Plus, I also get to show off the Snake Whip. Deals 5 damage, but if you look at its description, it'll also say that it deals extra damage to animals. Now, the poison may not seem like much, but there is a skill we can get later on that will greatly upgrade it. Skeleton collapses into a pile of loose bones. Cool. We don't get anything out of it, but hey, your pulse quickens as you get near the spooky, translucent horse. You approach the weird, semi-transparent horse cautiously, so as not to startle her, though you quickly come to the realization that this is not a horse that startles easily. Hello there. Hi. I'm a friend, okay? Nay. That's a little strange. How did you do that without opening your mouth? Pat her on the nose? You pat the horse's nose, which is very cold. If you're going to ride her, you would need an extra saddle blanket. That's a saddle blanket to keep your butt from freezing. Pat her on the nose again. Yep, still cold. Brr. Yeah, it's just gonna say the same thing over and over again. Here you go, girl. Have some oats. You hold out a handful of oats for the horse, but she just sort of stares right through you. Brr. Please don't look at me like that. Snort. You hold the oats out. Hold the oats out again, but the horse continues to ignore them. What's the matter? Are they not spooky enough? I'm not sure how to make oats spooky. I guess I could put some bone meal on them, but I don't have anything handy to grind up bones with. Grave dirt? Winnie. That a yes? Weird. Okay. You sprinkle the oats with just a little bit of grave dirt and hold them out again. The horse gazes expressionlessly at them, then eats them. Nay. And with that, she glides away in the direction of town. Bizarre. Now, before we head out, we need to check these graves. Timothy Cochran, Elizabeth Cochran, Silas Cochran. Now that we've checked those graves, we want to head back to the town of Boring Springs. And head straight for the bar. The woman glares at you. Are you Susie Cochran? How'd you know my last name? I saw the graves in the cemetery. I'm sorry for your loss. Susie scowls bitterly and mutters into her whiskey. I saw it happen. Saw the whole damn thing and couldn't do nothing about it. Bartender said it was cows. Cows, right. I don't know what those things are, but they ain't cows. Not anymore. What happened? It was a raid. See, Ma and Pa used to ranch cattle back before they came home. Pa didn't make it, but Ma and I managed to rebuild. We ranched pigs instead, and she left the place when she passed on. Go on. Well, I guess a passing herd sniffed out that it used to be a cow ranch, and they attacked a couple days ago. Happened so fast I didn't even have time to get the rifle out of the gun safe. Cow smashed in the front door, and the fire started out back by the root cellar. House went up in blazes, just like that. What did you do? There wasn't anything I could do. Couldn't get upstairs to the kids because of the fire, and I saw Tim trampled right in front of me. She drains her glass. I ain't want to talk about it anymore. Sorry. She refills her mug from a bottle on the bar and doesn't reply. What will you do now? Head west, I suppose. Nothing keeping me here, and no desire to stay. And I can't leave without my rifle, though. Why not? It was Ma's rifle. It's all I got left of anybody. Where is it? Left it at the ranch like a damn fool. Listen, can I ask you a favor? I need someone to go get it for me. Yeah, I'll go get it. Susie shows you on the map where her ranch is. Yep, that's the one thing we need. But now that we've been to the cemetery, we can also go talk to Doc Alice. Get lost. Whiskey delivery for you, Doc. What brand? Nurse whiskey. Your favorite, I'm led to believe. Didn't know she made house calls. Alright, hold on. You hear a rattle as she unlocks the door. Doc Alice looks to be about in her 50s. Her hair is graying and her face is lined, but her eyes are still clear and sharp, if bloodshot. She holds out her hand. Whiskey. Stat. She cracks open the whiskey and fills the small flask she takes out of her pocket. Then she puts the flask back in her pocket and starts chugging out of the bottle. Geez, Doc, that doesn't seem healthy. Who's the doctor here, me or you? Okay, point taken. Now, we're gonna have to go back and talk to her repeatedly. Doc Alice continues to pour whiskey down her neck, occasionally stopping to breathe. Is everything alright? That depends on how fast I can get this whiskey into my bloodstream, compared to how fast my liver filters it out, and I can't talk and drink at the same time, so she glares at you meaningfully. So what's the matter, Doc? What's the matter? The whole world's gone to hell in a horse car, you ask. And you ask me what's the matter? Bandits, cow demons, dead men walking? Why don't you go ahead and pick one, and I'll drink to that. Dead men walking? You haven't seen it? Corpses and skeletons staggering around like puppets with half their strings cut, looking to take a bite out of the living? Oh yeah, there was a skeleton in the cemetery. Well, more like two. It's nice to get some outside confirmation that I'm not losing my damn mind. But how is that even possible? It isn't possible. It goes against everything I know about medicine. Dead patients don't get back up. Patients? Oh, ouch. Doc Alice turns away, grimacing. Every doctor loses one now and again. Never get used to it, but, well, it happens. But what doesn't happen is them coming back afterward and looking for revenge. That must be pretty rough. Rough? Missy, I don't think you comprehend this situation. It's not just patients. It's neighbors, friends, husbands. Oh, indeed. She turns away from you and focuses her attention back on the bottle. Now we gotta go back and talk to her again. What now? Do you have any ideas what's causing the Resurrections? Well, I heard a rumor. A rumor? What is it? It's when you get incomplete information from an unverified source. Anyway, what I heard is there's a fella out west that's calling it... that's causing it. A necromancer, they call him. Supposedly he's sending magic out into the world somehow. Magic? Like the beanslingers use? I never heard of any beanslinger raising the dead. Have you? Her scowl deepens. That'd be one hell of a can of beans. Once more, what now? About that necromancer. Assuming he exists, what about him? Well, maybe someone ought to try and stop him. Doc Alice gives you a sharp look. You? Because I know you ain't talking about me. Why not you? Gray-haired old woman that knows as much about fighting as a squirrel knows surgery? Did you hit your head on a bar stool, kid? You aren't that old. And if I were gonna pick someone to go up against a necromancer, it'd be someone who knows about death, but in a scientific way. A doctor, right? Doc Alice stares hard at you and takes a swig from her bottle, saying nothing. And it sounds to me like you've got plenty of motivation to get the job done, for your friends and everyone. She continues to look at you. You can see the gears turning in her head. It beats doing nothing anyway. It beats locking yourself in a house full of TNT and drinking yourself to death. You aren't even doing any doctoring anymore. She winces and looks away, and she shakes her head slowly. You seriously expect me to ride out west by myself, chasing a rumor? Doesn't have to be by yourself. I'm heading west too. Tag along with me and maybe we can find the guy and put a stop to him. It's crazy. Impossible. Impossible like raising the dead is impossible? Alice crosses her arms and regards you thoughtfully. A spark slowly brightens in her eyes. Alright kid, what the hell. Let's give it a shot. Cool. And that is how you unlock Doc Alice as a companion. Now let's check the mirror, preen a little bit to gain an XP point. And we're going to want to take a look at these books. Hey Doc, can I look at your books? Sure, if you want to. Not that they're going to do you much good in this doomed, forsaken hellhole. You should try being less cheerful, Doc. You survey the books on Alice's shelf. They're all medical textbooks, except for a few. Read through The Legend of Curly Meat. The book tells you the story of a legendary treasure, a massive chest full of premium meat, secreted, in the hidden sense, not the extruded sense, in the western desert by an old cowhand named Curly Butterfield. Leaf through the lives and works of Fred Ferguson. The book purports to be a Civil War surgeon's autobiography, but flipping through it you mostly just find lists of reasons that drinking alcohol is bad. So, it's actually a work of ludicrous speculative fiction. At least there are some useful appendices in the back, and some diagrams of appendices. And let's leaf through Goblinoid Tongues, a primer. You start flipping through the Goblin language book. It's confusing at first, but you eventually get so engrossed that by the time you take a break from reading, several blurfs have passed. You also know that blurf is the Goblin word for hour. You have learned to speak Goblin. Sort of. And that's it. Now, that Goblin tongue. If you wanted to get Gary the Goblin as your companion, you need to avoid killing him, get in the doctor's house, learn Goblin tongue, and then talk to him. That's how you unlock him as a character. But seeing as how we're not going for that, oh well. Now then, why don't we finally take care of the Fricker Gang's hideout? Now, you can get 500 meat from this, but it requires being ruthless and killing them all. But I'm not going to do that. If you select just shoot him, it's going to ask you repeatedly, are you sure you want to do this? If you go through with it, you gain the ruthless perk. But I'm not that kind of person. So, I'm going to wake him up. You poke Thud with your boot. He slowly gets to his feet. Hey, you're not supposed to be here. That is... well, let's say he's no Rhodes Scholar, if we assume that it's 7 years from now and that idiom makes sense. I feel kinda bad about the idea of killing him. Walk away, Thud. Okay, you're probably right. He stumbles off into the desert. He'll probably be fine. You've got a strong moral compass and an accurate ethical protractor. Honorable options will be available in some situations. Let's see, we open this up, we get another recovered mug and some silver that has silver cufflinks. They don't do anything for us. That means we just need one more mug and we've got them all. Okay. Walk up to this guy. Make sure you get him to pass you the soap, whether you're being honorable or ruthless. He mumbles and hands you a bar of soap before sinking deeper into both sleep and the tub. If you were playing ruthless, you'd have to drown him. But in our case, we're just going to tie him up. Now, in order to get through these guys honorably, you have to have examined the wanted posters behind the sheriff. Fairly certain I have, but who knows. You cautiously approach the Fricker gang. They're pretty engrossed in their poker game, so it doesn't actually require that much caution. You hide behind a barrel and eavesdrop on their conversation for a while. The one with the eye patch is quiet, but you gather that his name is Snipe, and that the squirrely one, his brother, is his brother Wimpy. What's your play here? Now, if you're playing Ruthless, you have the option to shoot the guy in the back. Do that, you'll end up in a fight with the other guy, which is incredibly easy. Seriously, most of the time he'll miss you. But we're not going for that, so we're going to approach and talk to him. Howdy, boys. Deal me in? The one without the eye patch raises an eyebrow at you. Who are you? How'd you get past Thud and Soapy? What do you want? It's Bimmy, your sister. He squints at you. Bimmy? You ain't Bimmy. I am so Bimmy. I stole some Rube's face. Ha! You always did have a knack for face rustling. What's new, Bimmy? We gotta get out of here. Fast, Wimpy. Pinkertons are onto us, and they'll be here any minute. Dagnabbit, come on, Snipe, let's hightail it. I'll catch up with you guys later tonight. Wimpy nods. He and Snipe hurriedly pack their belongings and flee the cave. You congratulate yourself on your attentiveness, memory, and strong interpersonal skills. Let's grab that door and skedaddle, but not before grabbing this mug and the pile of ill-gotten gains, which is just 50 meat. Got it. This should go back to the sheriff as soon as possible. And before we do that, though, let's head for the Cochran Ranch and take care of business there. Cochran Ranch, established 1891, and burned down sometime after. Eesh. And nothing in the outhouse. Some more cactus to poke yourself on if you haven't gotten the mostly scabs. Nothing in the fireplace. That was a different ranch. Something behind this door is making some pretty awful noises. I'm gonna have to go through it anyways. Now then. Looks like somebody was in the middle of fixing a knife. Varmint skin and knife. Now, whether you have it equipped or not, this item is going to be used every time you fight or win a fight against an animal. It's what you need in order to get the snake skins from Thousand Snakes Gulch. This thing looks angry. You're not going to make it to that safe without dealing with it. Let's deal with it. Shouldn't be too difficult to fight, though it can set you on fire, which does damage and stacks every turn. But he's no match for our sharpshooting skills. Right, we'll grab Susie's rifle. And before we do that, we may as well head to the very last location, Thousand Snakes Gulch. Before we do anything, grab one of these really shiny rocks. The snake looks sleepy, but not that sleepy. And let's just use the snake whip. Kill it easily. And we get one of our rattlesnake skins. Now we could put this on our hat and get +3 to our muscle, but we don't really need the +3 to muscle. And we need the snakes for something more important. Or, yeah, snake skins. And let's hit it with a shot. Oh, by the way, every time you fight a snake as a snake oiler, you actually harvest some venom and medicine from them. This snake looks really angry. You're going to need every trick in the book to beat this one. This is the snake I was talking about. First turn, surrender to it. You wake up in a heap next to the snake. You feel a lump underneath you and realize that you're lying on top of a stick of dynamite. This is where you get the third and last dynamite that you need to get that one piece of meat. Combat items like this one can really give you an edge in combat. When you fight that snake again, try tossing this at it. Pass. Because I know I can beat him with just my stuff alone. Now, here's something you should know about action points. They do not regenerate within combat. What they do, however, is regenerate after combat. Same thing with health points. so you don't have to worry about healing in between fights. There are items you can use to regenerate your action points within combat. Deadeye's level up, which means we'll do more damage with pistols. See, this horse has gone snake crazy. Or maybe he was some kind of crazy before. Hey there, boy. Hey, fella. I'm a friend, okay? It's cool, alright. Be cool. Don't freak out on me. Look him in the eyes. You calmly look the horse in the eyes. One of them is fixed in a glassy 1,000-yard stare, and the other is revolving madly in its socket, like he's thinking of trying to escape in every direction simultaneously. He looks to be calming down a little now that it's clear you aren't actually made of spiders, though. Pat his nose. You carefully and gently pat the horse's nose. He twitches a bit. Okay, a lot. But he seems to recognize that you aren't going to eat his eyes or suck out his soul or whatever madness is bouncing around in that skull of his. That's a good boy. Feed him the oats. Are you hungry, boy? I've got a little treat for you. You feed the crazy horse some of the homing oats and it gallops away with a whinny, or rather a whinny. Hopefully he's headed home and not into the 12th dimension. And with that, we've pretty much done everything except for anything we need to round up in the town of Boring Springs. Oh, by the way, one other thing I should probably mention. Even if you're not going for or having Gary as your companion, it's still a good idea to get the goblinoid tongue. Okay, first things first, let's talk to Braid. Step right up, blah blah blah. Let's see, we'll trade him the soap for the lock. And I've got 3 Rattler skins. Oh my, how brave you must be. Fine silver pocket watch. What does this watch do to us? What stats does this increase? Absolutely nothing. But there is a use for it. That'll help us out in the early game. Alright, time to go to the sheriff. I see the Fricker gang hasn't put a stop to your breathing. Did you rescue my cell door? You hand the sheriff his door and he hangs it back on its hinges. Nice work, stranger. This here prison cell just got about 4 times more secure. Are there any Fricker boys left for me to round up? Yeah, 1 or 2 that are asleep on the job. I'll go round them up shortly then. Looks like I owe you a reward. Now, if you killed all of them, he'd have given you 500 meat. Got another little task for you, if you got the time. Should be a lot simpler than the last one. What you need? Well, the Frickers busted the lock when they took the door. Gonna need a new lock. I just so happen to have one. That'll do nicely. The sheriff puts the lock on the cell door, then accidentally drops the key and it clatters into the cell. Hellfire. Don't suppose you know how to pick a lock, stranger? You got a needle handy? I'll see what I can do. We pick this lock. I unlock the cell for you. The sheriff walks into the cell and picks up the key. He looks around for a place to hide it, and eventually sticks it under his hat. Thank you kindly, stranger. If Boring Springs ever gets any more criminals, they'd better watch out. It's a good job you done. Don't mention it. Here, have this as a souvenir of your time in Boring Springs. +1 armor. Beats nothing. With that, we're done with the sheriff. Time to head for the bar. Now, remember all that stuff we collected, all those rocks? Talk to Pete. What do you say, Pete? Who, me? Well, heck, I said hey, all kinds of things. For instance, I've been mining these mountains longer than Slam Jammer Raccoon can remember Mama. Uh-huh. Pete takes a swig of his whiskey. Pete notices the shiny rock you're carrying and his wild eyes light up. That there is a shiny rock you got there, stranger. I'll give you 7 meat for that rock. Sure. Anything we sell to him, we're gonna get more than we would otherwise. Grabs the rock and sticks it in his belt pouch. Thank you kindly. Pete knows there's a silver nugget you found earlier. I'll take that old silver nugget off your hands if you like. Give you 81 meat for it. Ordinarily, I'd say no, but because we've got the pocket watch, yes. Okay, deal. Fine and dandy. You ain't seem like you got much use for that unrefined ore, stranger. I'll buy it off you for 73 meat. He's right. The ore has no value. As a matter of fact, there are several items in the game, or certain items in the game, that are marked with blue text that says, just sell it. That's not a joke. That's actually the game telling you it has no other use than selling. Which means if something doesn't have that, don't sell it. And yeah, I believe I'll get more meat selling it to him than I will selling it in a shop. Pete's eyes narrow as the gears in his head start to click. He fixes his gaze on you, and the tick in his eyelids seems more pronounced. Listen, kid, all this stuff what I've been buying from you. You've been spending time underground, ain't you? Well, you listen to old Pete's advice. You stay out of our hole if you know what's good for you. A little late from that. There's stuff down on the 40th level that ain't worth messing with for a gal who wants to keep her eyes, if you catch my meaning. Not sure I do, but thanks. Now then, what he says is basically this. You go there, you go to the 40th level, you can unlock the hard hat. That essentially makes the game a lot harder. It also prevents you from equipping any other hats. As a matter of fact, if I recall, any hats you acquire, it immediately eats, which can make certain parts of the game a mite harder. So we're not going to do that. Next thing, we step up to these people. These guys are playing poker, or at least trying to. They keep looking back and forth from their hands to the how to play poker card that came with the deck, with their deck, biting their lips and concentrating real hard. By the way, you're going to want at least 3 Moxie for this. Can I play? They look at you nervously. Look, I have some meat. Let's play. You put 20 meat on the table and sit down before they can say no. One of them shuffles the cards, sloppily, and deals a new round. You get a pair of 10s, plus a 2, and a 3, and a king. Bet crazily. Eat this. All in, suckers. Sweat gushes from their faces as they each read the how to play poker card again. But eventually they both add 20 meat to the pot. Okay, read 'em and weep. You show your pair of 10s plus 2, 3, king. Plus 2, 3, king. Okay, the guy on the left has a full house, 2 jacks and 3 aces. And the guy on the right somehow gets a straight flush, 2 through 6 in hearts. Hornswoggle him. Thankfully you only need level 1 of your charisma skill. You explain that jacks are worth 9 points each, giving the guy on the left a total of 21 points, to the guy on the right's 20, and you're 25 plus a king. And the king represents, oh hey, look over there! They look, and when they look back, they don't notice the 10 meat missing from each of their piles. You collect your winnings and stand up. The guy thanks you for helping them learn the game. Right. Next, the bartender. Howdy. Howdy, good to see you again, Talia. You tip your hat to the bartender. I found these mugs. Much obliged. Just thought I'd say howdy. Well then, mission accomplished, I reckon. Now, around this point, you should probably have about, if you're going for the fistful of cutlets, 1,337 meat. Now, I'm not, so I don't. That is the amount you're going to need to get the achievement and have the most amount of meat possible. You found my rifle yet, stranger? Yep, here it is. Susie's eyes well up with tears as you hand her the rifle, and she roughly scrubs her sleeve across her face before any of them spill over. Thanks, stranger. I didn't catch your name. I'm Talia. Thanks, Talia. Can't rightly say what this means to me. She looks at the rifle for a long moment, then looks back up at you. She sighs. Well, that's enough wallowing in misery. Time for me to hit the road. If you want me to tag along when you head west, you just say the word. Sounds good, Susie. And that is how we unlock Susie. And I believe that is everything. All that's left is talk to the hostler, get our reward, and... Oh, hey, one thing I completely forgot. It's a chunk of wood from the broken hitching post. Grab it. Yeah, it's not as good as what we have, but if you started out as a class that didn't have a melee weapon, it might not be a bad idea to grab it. I don't know how you spotted her hiding in that mine, but thanks for sending back my dark horse. Sure thing. Looks like my pale horse made it back safe. Thanks for your help. Thanks for finding my crazy horse. He was eating loco weed again, wasn't he? Not that I noticed. That's all of them. I can't thank you enough. Here's a little extra for you. Thanks. Afternoon, ma'am. What can I do for you? Can you sell me a horse? Sure thing. I should warn you, though, horses get mighty attached to their riders. Once you bought one, you won't be able to change your mind later. What are you interested in? Now, each of these horses has something special about them. Well, most of them. Basic horse has absolutely no bonuses. It's pretty boring. If you have access to the other horses, there's no reason for you to take the basic model. The shifty-looking dark one has an ability that allows you to run away from combat encounters, from random encounters. In other words, whenever you would normally get beaten, you can actually get away. This spooky pale horse increases your chances of running into skeletons for random encounters. And the Crazy Horse essentially guarantees you're going to run into some random encounter or another. Or that you're guaranteed to run into a new location, which is very handy. I'm gonna go with the Crazy Eyes. Okay, I gotta warn you, this horse has seen some stuff. But I'll sell him for 1,000 meat. Is something wrong with him? No, not as such. He's perfectly functional. But... well, he's always sneak off to Thousand Snakes Gulch to chew on the loco wheat that grows there. And that makes him see crazy things? It's more like he does it to forget about the crazy things he sees all the time anyway. Color me intrigued. I'll take him. Thanks. Here's the keys. Ride safe. Now, I am terrible with names, so I'm just gonna stick with Tim. Are you sure you want to name your horse Tim? Yeah. Alright then, Tim the horse. It's got a nice ring to it. Okay. Oh, and I almost forgot. Free with every horse purchase is a complimentary map. Thanks. And with that, we're heading out. Once you leave Boring Springs, you won't be able to come back. Any unfinished business you got will forever remain unfinished. Are you sure you're ready to leave? Yeah. Alrighty then. You're properly horsed and ready to start your new life in the West. All you need now is a partner, somebody to share the trail with, somebody you can rely on for emotional and combat support. Now, you can go alone, but it's not recommended, as it says. Now, each of these companions, which also includes Gary, who I killed for some cash, levels up in unique ways. They're not like you, in which case you get experience, you level up. They level up in different ways. Crazy Pete is unlocked just by simply walking into the bar, which you have to do anyways. He levels up whenever you find random objects from random encounters. He also has the skills of a Lantern Smash, which he smashes a lantern over an enemy's head and deals hot damage. Pep Talk, which boosts your stats. And then there is a skill he gets by leveling up called Dark Whispers, which causes a small amount of spooky damage to all enemies. Doc Alice levels up by killing skeletons. It's as simple as that. She starts off with Shotgun, which does a small amount of damage to all enemies. Medical Training, if that's the word, or First Aid, which basically allows her to heal you. And later on, she can learn Bone Saw, which allows her to instantly kill any skeleton enemies. Very handy. Susie Cochran levels up by killing cows. She starts out with Rifle Shot, fairly basic, hits one enemy for a decent amount of damage, and Build Cover, which is useful because it blocks all ranged attacks. Well, all Moxie-based ranged attacks. Magic attacks, I believe, will still hit you, and one solid swing from a melee attacker will destroy it. Later on, she learns Lasso, which allows you to essentially stun an enemy for one turn. Then there's Gary, whom you unlock by learning Goblin Tongue and talking to him. He starts out with Gary Fu, which allows him to do multiple attacks to one enemy. Budding, which allows him to create a Gary clone. No idea what his third skill is. And he levels up by you purchasing Fungus Growth from various merchants and giving it to him. Now, I intend to go with Doc Alice on this one, because I've taken Susie Cochran on my Cowpuncher, I've gone with Crazy Pete for my Beanslinger, which I'm playing off camera. So let's go for Doc Alice. You knock on Alice's door and tell her it's time to go. Let's hit the trail. Oh, one last thing before you go. Up until this point, I've been automatically spending your experience points for you. I'm happy to keep doing it, and I promise to give you a nice, well-rounded experience. Shall I keep it up, or would you prefer to decide for yourself where your XP gets spent? You can always change this later in the options. Yes, I want to start spending it manually, because here's the thing. What it does is essentially goes for whichever skill has the lowest XP requirement to level up as what it's going for next, which will make your character nice and balanced, but sometimes you're going to want to spend it on other skills to level them up quicker, like Hornswogglin, you're going to want to get that up quickly, because it'll be very handy. So I'm going to start spending it manually. Okay, you now have the option of turning yourself into some kind of unbalanced weirdo if you want. Yes, XP has essentially become a currency now. You consult the southwest map the Hostler gave you. It only lists two things, the town of Dirtwater and the Manifest Destiny Railroad Company's westernmost camp. Well, let's head for Dirtwater. And very quickly, one thing you're going to want to do, open up options, enable nerd mode. And if you want to, show combat grid. Because those can be very handy. Now, it's your partners. One thing I forgot to mention is that your partners can tell you about various locations. Whenever you see the exclamation mark over their head, talk to them. Doc Alice will tell you about various graveyards around. Let's see, Crazy Pete will tell you about mines. Oh, and he also has this thing where he can tell you, or help you get more meat from meat veins. We haven't encountered those yet. Susie will tell you about different ranches, and Gary will tell you about random locations. Anyways, before we end this off, let's talk to her. What do you say, Alice? If we're going to look into this necromancer business, I figure we ought to start with the local cemeteries. Makes sense. Do you know where they are? Yeah, I did some research into the territory cemeteries a while back. Territory cemeteries. Territory cemeteries. See if there was a pattern. You okay? Sorry. Anyway, there's not one too far from here. Now, nerd mode essentially tells you, hey, this is what you asked them for main quest, this is what you asked them for side quest. Your partners are a way of keeping track of things, but they don't keep track of everything, so some things you're going to have to keep track of on your own. Let's see, what do you think we should do next? Well, if you're looking to find out the lay of the land, I'd guess the railroad crew would be able to give you a fairly literal interpretation. Any other ideas? Alice says you should see the bartender about renting that room in Dirtwater. It'd be nice to have a base of operations. And nothing else. But with that, I'm going to end this off here for today. If you guys like what you see, please leave a like, subscribe for future content, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.